Fasten your chin strap and put your pads on. Get a grip on the bat, here comes a fastball. We ain't going one and done, we're here to last long. This the top of the standards, get ready to blast off. Alright, let's do this. Hut hut! Every Sunday afternoon, big sports fanatics coming out your speakers like a piston running with magic. Game time stat is good to go, it's automatic. Ready for the blowouts and the instant classics. Calling all the teachers, all the fathers and the mothers. Calling all the kids, all the sisters and the brothers. Dynamic high schoolers in the game like no other. Preseason game 7s, hey, y'all know we got it covered. From the finals to the Super Bowl to the World Series to the Stanley Cup final, over here we spit it clearly. Andrew Hale and Jotham Israel coming with the hottest topics. Hey, you know what's up with sports, people wanting it, we got it. Yeah, get in the game. It's the top of the standards, man. Get in the game. It's the top of the standards. Yo, get in the game. It's the top of the standards, man. Get in the game. It's the top of the standards. Come on, get in the game. It's the top of the standards, man. Get in the game. It's the top of the standards. Yo, get in the game. It's the top of the standards, man. Get in the game. It's the top of the standards. Come on.
Yeah, top of the standards. That's what it's about, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, season 2 is here, baby. Yes, Jotham Israel and Andrew Hale, we're back and better than ever. Yes, we got a ton of sports to talk about, as always. And yes, I can rap. I produced the song, I wrote the lyrics, and I rapped it. That is my voice. Yes, you guys better believe it. But before we get started, fasten your chin strap and put your pads on. Get a grip on the bat, here comes a fastball. We ain't going one and done, we're here to last long. This the top of the standards, get ready to blast off. Alright, let's do this. Bang! Bang! Every Sunday afternoon, big sports fanatics coming out your speakers like a piston running with magic. Game time stat is good to go, it's automatic. Ready for the blowouts and the instant classics. Calling all the teachers, all the fathers and the mothers. Calling all the kids, all the sisters and the brothers. Dynamic high schoolers in the game like no other. Preseason game 7s, hey, y'all know we got it covered. From the finals to the Super Bowl to the World Series to the Stanley Cup final, over here we spit it clearly. Andrew Hale and Jotham Israel coming with the hottest topics. Hey, you know what's up with sports, people wanting it, we got it. Yeah, get in the game. It's the top of the standards, man. Get in the game. It's the top of the standards. Yo, get in the game. It's the top of the standards, man. Get in the game. It's the top of the standards. Come on, get in the game. It's the top of the standards, man. Get in the game. It's the top of the standards. Yo, get in the game. It's the top of the standards, man. Get in the game. It's the top of the standards. Come on.
Yeah, top of the standards. That's what it's about, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, season 2 is here, baby. Yes, Jotham Israel and Andrew Hale, we're back and better than ever. Yes, we got a ton of sports to talk about, as always. And yes, I can rap. I produced the song, I wrote the lyrics, and I rapped it. That is my voice. Yes, you guys better believe it. But before we get started,
have you ever wanted to create a podcast? Well, if your answer is yes, then download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started right now. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Here, let me explain. It's free. Yes, free. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many others. Yes, you heard that right. It's that simple to get your voice heard around the world right now. There's also creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer to truly make your podcast perfect. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And lastly, get this, you can make money with no minimum listenership. Who doesn't like money? It doesn't get easier than Anchor, so again, head on over to your phone's app store and download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Jotham, it's already week 1. It's already week 1. It felt like we just saw the Super Bowl. I couldn't be more excited for today. I love football. I love week 1. And as you could tell, I love the Lions. So I'm excited for today. Last year, we had a little bit of a rivalry between our picks. And we're going to start off with some picks today. So how did you feel you picked last year? I thought I did a pretty good job. I like to pick the upsets. How about you?
Yeah, I would say we both did a pretty good job. We both definitely had our stretches of, having correct picks and having wrong picks. I remember there was a week that I went 500, and then there was another week that I went 14-2, and it was just like I was up and down, roller coastering. But overall, both of us did pretty well. I mean, we were hovering around the 170 win to 90 something loss ratio. So that's like what 600 winning percentage.
Yeah.
So that's not bad, bro.
No, it isn't. And I think not just me picked the upsets. I think both of us picked some upsets at a point because I remember sometimes I'd be so close to a perfect week that all of a sudden this team would lose on a last-second field goal, or the team would have a crazy miracle like a Hail Mary. But that's how football works, and I'm excited to get back to predicting some games this week.
Oh yeah, definitely, dude. I was so hyped when I picked the Bills and the Cardinals right, the Cardinals and the Seahawks that first game right. Those games were insane. The Packers and the Colts. I thought for sure the Colts were going to lose that game in the second half, but Packers did the Packers. Yeah, it was crazy. There were so many good games last year that swayed both of our picks and stuff, especially the Titans Ravens games too.
Yep.
Can't forget about those. But yeah, dude, I'm excited to keep this thing going into year 2. Let's do it.
All right. I'm excited to get some picks going. I briefly looked at the schedule on our hands, and some of these games are kind of ugly in my opinion.
Yeah, it's like except for the games that are going to be shown on prime time, it's good. It's just like, yeah, these are some pretty lackluster games, like Eagles, Falcons. No offense to you guys, but 49ers and the Lions. I mean, assuming that the 49ers still have their bolts and nuts screwed together from that Super Bowl run they had, then this should be a W for the 49ers. But who knows? Jared Goff could go out and do some things. And then Cardinals, Titans. I don't know. I don't know what to expect from Arizona. The Chargers and Washington, the Jets and the Panthers, the Broncos and the Giants. And you just look at these games, it's like, ew, bro.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it, though. I think, since you just mentioned it, I think we got to start off with the Lions. And the Lions and the 49ers, and my tradition of, going with the Lions every week. And it only worked a couple times last year, but, maybe it'll work better this year. I mean, it should have worked week 1, shouldn't have. I mean, come on. If DeAndre Swift would have been able to catch a ball, it should have started off well. Hopefully, he doesn't need to catch a ball today because the Lions receiving core is really good. Maybe one of the best in the league. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. But I mean, I'm excited. Look, I'm gonna be serious. I'm excited to see what the Lions, do in this part of their rebuild, if you want to call it that anymore. Obviously, they got a boatload of draft picks from Los Angeles in return for Matthew Stafford, and now the new look Lions. I'm excited to see how they come out because right now they won that trade. They won that Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford trade with all those picks. They're basically doing a Troy Weaver. They're doing a Troy Weaver.
They are.
From their in a Little Caesars Arena. So
yeah, they also made a couple other moves for some. I believe they traded for a rookie wide receiver from the Broncos, and they gave up their picks. And a lot of people were mad that they lost some picks to the Broncos for a rookie wide receiver who hasn't proven himself. But I think everyone should think about what the Rams did on their way to the Super Bowl, because the Rams, they were fine. They were fine with giving away picks for assets, and that's exactly what the Lions are trying to do with their rebuild. So if it works, if it hits on some of these young receivers, young players, I think that's all that matters. I think their average age in the lineup is like 24. There's only a couple people that are older than 30, so they're definitely very youthful. It should be exciting. I mean, even Jared Goff is younger than Matthew Stafford by like 6 years, so definitely a very youthful lineup. I'm excited to see what Motor City Dan Campbell can do in his first game as a head coach. If he wins this, it won't be his first win as a Lion. It'll be his first win as a Lions head coach, because he did play here in the early 2000s. So I think I'm gonna have to go with my tradition and pick the Lions. It's only right. I gotta keep it normal somewhere. It's got to be the Lions today. They're gonna come out and they're gonna shock the world.
Yeah, I don't blame you for sticking with that tradition. I mean, really, I really don't know what to expect from this game. I mean, the 49ers, you would think they would win this game pretty easily, but you never know. I mean, is Jimmy Garoppolo straight? You know what I'm saying? I mean, is their running game going to be the same? I know they're for once they're actually fully healthy, because last year the 49ers couldn't catch a break in the injury department. Everybody was hurt. But now it's week 1. They're all healthy. And you know what? I think the 49ers will win this game just because they're fully healthy. Now, if this was like a week 10 game and they had their starters hurt last year, I don't know. The Lions might have done some sneaky stuff, but for now, I'm gonna go with the 49ers on this one.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think any normal person would agree with you, but I have to stick with the Lions tradition.
Yeah, we're not normal over here. Yeah, we're not normal over here. Let's go and transition into the Eagles and the Falcons.
Don't like this at all. Don't like this matchup one bit.
Dude, do you remember when these two teams were duking it out in the playoffs and their games were actually lit? We actually looked forward to the Eagles and the Falcons. Do you remember those days?
I do, and it feels like it was about a century ago. Crazy how much changes in a couple of years, because now I don't think either of these teams are really that good. You know what? If Jalen Hurts somehow plays poorly, they might have to bring in Gardner Minshew. Think about that. Have you know how Gardner Minshew plays on week 1? He balls out. So who knows?
Yes,
who knows? Who knows?
Oh my gosh. I really don't know who to pick for this game. I mean, it's basically a coin flip. Two laughingstock franchises going up against each other in week 1. I don't know, but I guess I'll go with the Falcons because they're the home team.
Okay. I guess to change it up, I guess I'll have to go with the Eagles. I don't know how they'll win this game. I just know they're gonna do it some way.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, there's definitely reasons for the Falcons to win. They still got Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan is not the worst quarterback in the league, but he's definitely not league MVP anymore by any stretch whatsoever. And no Julio Jones, of course.
Yep.
And obviously, but they got Kyle Pitts, and Kyle Pitts I think he's poised for a decent year in his rookie year. But obviously, you could say the same for Jalen Hurts. Obviously, he's not a rookie, but first year is a bona fide starter. We're gonna learn about these two teams and see if they're gonna even poke at being serious.
That will be a long shot, but I mean, yeah. I'm here for it. I these two teams.
Yeah. All right, next game. Cardinals and the Titans. I got the Titans.
I would have to agree. I know that the Cardinals, they've had a little here and there. They've had some upgrades, but I don't know. The Titans, I like the Titans. I like their roster. I mean, their offense is stacked. Think of all their weapons. Their defense, a little bit, it's not great. It's good. It's not great, but their offense is going to be tough to stop this year. All those receivers on the outside, and then on the inside, you got Derrick Henry, who we know Derrick Henry. He's literally a human bulldozer. If you get in his way, you're going to be put on the ground.
Oh yeah, and obviously Tannehill's now one of the most premier quarterbacks in the league, but I mean the weapons around him are so good, like they make him,
better,
look a little better. Yeah. I mean when he's in a position where it's like you're down by 4 and you have to put the ball in the air, you can't go to Derrick Henry anymore. It's like, maybe that's where, the Titans falter, but sometimes Derrick Henry and those boys, A.J. Brown, and now you got Julio Jones to go with him if he stays healthy. Oh my God.
Yeah, just toss it up. They'll be there somewhere.
Yeah, they're going to Madden 22 Moss, aggressive catch cheese the crap to their way to the Super Bowl. But
I hope that happens. I really do. I mean, I'd love to see the Titans go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that would be so fun. I mean, I like give me a weird Super Bowl. Like
I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
Yeah, give me a weird looking Super Bowl. But yeah, even though the Cardinals are, their roster has improved in some ways. I mean, obviously they have J.J. Watt. Hopefully he can stay healthy. I don't know. This is the proven year for Kyler Murray. It's like you got them. You got D-Hop. You know what I'm saying? That their defense is supposed to be, the focal point of the team. Because obviously, when we were looking at it last year, we're like, oh man, this Cardinals defense is going to be nasty going into next year when they get all their boys healthy. You know what I'm saying? Isaiah Simmons, Hassan Reddick. You got all these boys, Byron Murphy. That that defense is supposed to be up and coming. So we'll see what this defense is made of against this loaded Titans offense. So I'm kind of excited for this game now that I look at it. It looked like an ugly matchup at first, but I'm like, you know what? This has some intrigue to it. And hey, Cardinals beat the 49ers week 1 last year. We didn't see that coming either. So.
And the Titans love to get themselves in shootouts. It seems like almost every other game where they're up against a decent team, it's a 2-score game or a 8-point difference with like 1 minute left, and it's like 40 to 32 somehow. It's crazy.
Yeah.
That game with the Browns last year, I think that was insane. I could see that happening again.
Yeah, and then the game against the Texans in Week 17 to clinch the division. If they would have lost that game, I would have laughed. But yeah, the Titans love getting in some trouble. They lost to the Bengals last year, so yeah, they love to get into some trouble. Speaking of the Titans, their heated rivals, the Indianapolis Colts, they host the Seattle Seahawks. This should be an interesting game because that Colts defense is nasty. I mean, we've seen it in periods last year. Their defense is nasty. But obviously, Russell Wilson is Russell Wilson.
Yeah, and that Colts offense it's banged up a little bit. Sure, Carson Wentz is back after having foot surgery like 6 weeks ago, but they lost an O-lineman, one of their better O-linemen, and it's interesting. I don't know how their offense is going to look behind Carson Wentz, but because we know how Carson Wentz looks when he's really good, when he's really healthy. At a point in his career, believe it or not, he was an MVP candidate, maybe the MVP front runner if he didn't get hurt. But ever since, gone downhill a little bit. So, if he expects to be successful in Indianapolis, I think he definitely needs to go back to his MVP days. But I don't know if that'll be able to happen. As for the Seahawks, I don't know. They're an odd team for me because we've seen it these past few years. They're either really good one week, and then next week they look like the worst team in the league. They're really up and down. It's a roller coaster when you're watching the Seahawks. You never know what to expect. One week, DK Metcalf could look like Calvin Johnson. The next week, he could look like Eric Ebron dropping every single pass in his hands. So, the Seahawks, their offense, kind of bipolar in my opinion. But like you said, the defense, pretty solid as well.
Yeah, I agree with you on everything you just said because the Seahawks are so unpredictable. It's like after the Legion of Boom years, it's like you're thinking, who's on their team other than Russell Wilson? You know what I'm saying? It's like they just keep making the playoffs and believing that they can win a Super Bowl. Of course, they keep falling flat on their faces in the playoffs, but it's like they think they can win, a Super Bowl with the team that they have. And obviously, there was a lot of drama with Russell Wilson in the offseason, but obviously he's back. DK Metcalf is back. Tyler Lockett is back. And my big question is that defense because, last year it was like let Russ cook for the first 4 weeks of the season, and then it was like the defense heavily improved, and then the offense went away. And it was like when the offense was there, the defense wasn't. When the defense was there, the offense wasn't. It was just a mess for Seattle. And then obviously it showed when they lost to the Rams in the playoffs. So
yeah, exactly. And like you mentioned, every single year everyone thinks they're a Super Bowl candidate, and then those odds slowly decrease as time goes on. It's really weird. I don't think I've ever seen a team as up and down as they've been in these past few years.
Oh no, and they have some pretty close games too. Like imagine being a Seahawks fan watching some of their games, like the Vikings game where Russell Wilson had to drive 94 yards. The
49ers game a few years ago.
Yep, that 49ers game. And then, of course, every game they have with the Cardinals in Arizona for whatever reason is an instant classic. So, they love shooting it out with the Cardinals.
They do.
For whatever reason. They do. They really do. And everyone, oh, my gosh, when they get on Sunday Night Football, it's automatic banger. Yeah. I don't care who it's against. But
100%.
But in this game, I guess I'll have to go with the Seahawks because I don't know really. I just don't know what to expect. I mean, I just feel like Russell Wilson is going to carry for this week, just for this week.
Yeah, I would probably agree as well. I I don't know what to feel about the Colts entirely. New quarterback, new system. Their offense, not the greatest, but I mean, I guess we'll have to see. I would pick the Seahawks, though. I just think it's more of a safer bet, and which is surprising to me, or for me, because I never pick the safe bet. I usually go
No.
against the grain, and I think I'm going to have to play it safe here because I really don't know what to expect with the Colts.
Yeah, I agree, man. This game, that's going to be I mean, obviously every game is going to be interesting, but there's always something like a little storyline within each of these games. And this Seahawks team and that Colts team, this is like okay, what are you really made of? What are you made
Exactly.
of?
Exactly.
So, yeah, and you could also say the same about this Chargers and the team that still doesn't have a nickname, Washington Football Team game. This is another game that you look at and it's just like, uh, okay, you know what I mean?
Did you see some of the names that the football team have come up with? The presidents, the Washington presidents. Imagine that. I could see it. I mean, I get why they would be named presidents, but I think they're also they might be the Red Hogs, and I don't know if many people know, but you had a prediction a few years ago, a conspiracy about the Washington football team potentially changing into the Red Hogs. Maybe that will happen, and maybe your conspiracy will come true. But today, I honestly I like the Washington football team and how I like their team. I like the team of the football team. I like. I mean, come on, Fitzmagic starting for another team. Seems like every other year he's on a new team starting, and that just proves how good he is. As his career has gone on, it shows how reliable he has been, and I think we'll see some Fitzmagic today. I do, and that's why I think he's gonna win this week.
Very, very interesting. I mean, obviously, no, we don't need to say much about that Washington defense. That Washington defense is one of the most. That's one of the nastiest defenses in the league. And, you know,
Ferocious.
their defense literally carried them to a division
It
championship.
did.
And I know the division was absolute laughing stock, but that defense was no joke. You know, I mean, even with all that quarterback carouseling through Alex Smith and Dwayne Haskins and obviously Taylor Heineke, glad that he's back on the team. You know, he's gonna. It's something interesting about some of these backup quarterbacks. Like,
Oh, he almost upset the Super Bowl champs. That was their hardest game. I don't care what anyone has
yes,
to say. That was their most difficult game in the playoffs against the football team, and I called it. I think on top of the standings, I said that the Washington football team could potentially upset Tampa Bay. It almost happened. It almost happened.
yeah, they had the ball with it was a one possession game, and the offense just faltered. So, I mean, they were close. They were the only ones that were in that position. Yeah, the scoreboard said that Green Bay was closer, but they were down 18 in the second half. You know what I'm saying?
Garbage time points.
Like, bro, and they always find a way to choke in NFC championships. But
I love it.
we're gonna save that for January when they do it again.
Yes.
But I'm actually gonna pick the Chargers on this one.
Okay.
I think with the brand new faces in the coaching staff, obviously the Chargers have a new head coach because Anthony Lynn just couldn't get this team to be clutch. Um, but I like the chip on the shoulder of Justin Herbert, not only because everybody's hearing about this. We're gonna be the same old choking Chargers, same old Chargers. Justin Herbert, not only is he a really good quarterback, but I believe he'll have a chip on his shoulder playing this team that chose Chase Young over him.
Yeah, and this is offensive rookie of the year versus defensive rookie of the year. It's going to be a showdown. And I didn't think that Herbert was going to be any good in the NFL. Watching him at Oregon, I was like, okay, he's your typical college quarterback, but he proved me wrong. He was probably one of the best rookie quarterbacks that we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, and he was duking it out with Mahomes
Mm-hmm.
early in the season. I'm like, hey, if he keeps
Didn't
on
they
doing
lose to a
this-
last-second field goal, right?
Yeah,
Something
in
that.
overtime.
Yeah.
So yeah, if he can take Mahomes to the distance, I mean, imagine what he can do this year. Hopefully the Chargers stay healthy, of
Yeah.
course. Bosa and that defense, they're at full strength. They're really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Chargers. You go with Washington, another game that we're crossing roads on. You see, we're picking up right where we left off
What's
last week,
new?
bro.
What is new?
Yeah, nothing really new, man. But I'll tell you what is new: Sam Darnold. Um, the Jets play the
I
Panthers.
don't like it. Don't
Isn't
like this
that
game. Don't like it. Oh.
isn't that something else, man? Of course, the first game Sam Darnold plays as a non-New York Jet is against the New York Jets. Oh,
I don't think either of these teams are that great. A lot of people were very hyped over the Panthers and their offense last year, but I don't think it was good at all. This year, I kind of like what the Jets have been doing. I like their quarterback selection. They knew who they were going to pick going into the draft. I like their new coach, their new coordinators. I like the direction that they're going. I mean, I'd be fine if the Jets somehow won the division. Imagine that. But they're I don't know. I mean, I like the team. I like the direction they're going. I'm gonna do it. The Jets only won a couple times last year, but I'm gonna pick them this year. I'm gonna pick them this year. This year I'm gonna pick them more than one time because I think after they won, I think we started to think that they were a little bit better than they were, and we both picked them a couple times. But this year, maybe I might have to start a new tradition picking the Jets every week. No, I'm kidding. Definitely this week though, because I don't think the Panthers are great at all.
yeah, I don't blame you for thinking that way because I was dead wrong about Carolina last year. After that Bears game, I was like,
Oh, I remember that. I remember. We had some debates on whether we thought Carolina was good or not.
I don't know what I was thinking. I mean, the team got off to a decent start, and I'm looking at them. I'm like, hey, did this team, they're 4-2? I'm like, hey, this game going against the Chicago Bears, a playoff, a legit playoff team at 5-1, this and that. Oh, I was dead. Oh man, that was
Yikes.
that was a game of deception right there. And then when they lost to the Falcons,
I'm just saying. I said it. I said it myself. I called it.
You did. Yeah, you did. But you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and do it again because why not? I'm gonna pick the Carolina Panthers to win this game, not because of Sam Darnold, but because of their defense.
Okay.
I think the defense is gonna show out more. This might be one of those 17-10 type games.
I could easily see it. I see it right now. Watch that be the exact same score. I wouldn't be surprised.
Watch that be the score, and the Jets win by that score. I'll be the most angry man on the planet. I'm like, I got the score right, but I picked the wrong team. I hate when I do that.
Bro, that would just be your luck too, thinking that Carolina's like really good or better than, you may have imagined, and then they lose by that score. It's reverse fortune, I guess.
Yeah, they're definitely not going to win the division. I don't know. I mean, who's going to stop the Bucks? We'll get to them later. But, I mean, I guess wild card could be on the table if they're really lucky, maybe.
Yep, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But speaking of tables, everything turned from for the Houston Texans this offseason with the whole Deshaun Watson situation. And there were a lot of things that could happen, Drew, but I did not see Deshaun Watson still being on the roster and not being the starting quarterback.
It's crazy to look at the depth chart and the injury report and see that he's listed but not injury related. It's crazy. Everyone thinks that this Texans roster is the worst in the league, and it's not close. And that's funny because every power ranking, every odds to win the Super Bowl, it's always Texans, Lions. So I guess it's a battle between whose roster is worse. But the Texans aren't good at all.
No.
I don't like this matchup at all either. Like it's
I know, right?
A lot of these matchups I haven't enjoyed looking at like whatsoever. It's just an ugly thing seeing two really interesting teams that I don't care much for battle it out. But I can't pick the Texans. I can't. And the Jaguars. I saw a stat today that the number one pick in the past 13 years has gone 0-12-1 in their first ever game. So Trevor Lawrence, you gotta do something. You gotta do something today. And I do gotta admit, I do think that the Jaguars upgraded in terms of their offense and maybe their special teams, and that's complete bias because a lot of those players came from the Detroit Lions. Marvin Jones Jr., you know how much I talked about him last year when Kenny Golladay was hurt. I was hyping him up every single week. I love Marvin Jones Jr., one of the most underrated receivers. If he can get open quite a bit for Trevor Lawrence, I think they might be in good standing. But after this game, the Jaguars will wish they kept Tim Tebow. Kidding.
Really? Yeah. We got through all the analysis and we joked around. The question still remains: who wins this game? I guess I'll go with the Jaguars just because, both teams are a laughingstock right now for various reasons. From Jacksonville not being able to win a game to Houston shipping away DeAndre Hopkins for change. It's ugly, but I guess the Texans are uglier, so I guess I'll give this one to the Jaguars.
I too will pick the Jaguars, and I think they'll tie their win high from last year today.
Yeah. I mean, hey, they went 1-0 last year.
Yep, they did. They did.
And
you know who was their quarterback, right?
Gardner.
Come on, Eagles.
The power of the Jacksonville quarterback hair has transformed into Trevor Lawrence.
Did you see what Gardner Minshew said in his introductory press conference? The funniest thing.
Really?
He said, "Yeah, I heard that Eagles fans are really nice. I heard that they're really nice people."
Yo, imagine trolling your own team's fans.
And that's something Gardner Minshew would do. He's a legend. He's one of the funniest players in the league.
Yeah, I love him. I miss Minshew Mania when he was actually good on the field and he was looking like the future.
Exactly. He looked really good, and less than 2 years later, they have the number 1 pick, and they pick Trevor Lawrence. So, go Jags today.
Yeah, go Jags. And that comes from the Florida boy, too.
Yes. I mean...
Yeah. All right, let's get into an actually interesting matchup for once. The Steelers and the Bills.
Bills.
Yeah, Bills. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the returners from Buffalo, obviously Josh Allen significantly improved last year. Stephon Diggs is still on the squad. They built some good chemistry. The combination of Zach Moss and Devin Singletary, that's a nasty RB1, RB2 duo. And, their defense, I think their defense will improve. Obviously, they still got Tre'Davious White, Jordan Poyer, and they got what's his name? Greg Rousseau from the draft, some guy from Houston. I think he could be a decent option if they develop him right. So yeah. I think the Bills will win this game relatively easily. I really do not have faith in the Steelers. I do not. I'm sorry. After last year, no.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if we saw the Bills playing in February, if you know what I mean. But the Steelers, we saw this last year, 11-0, and they get clowned round 1 against their rivals. I've seen more TikToks created by Juju and Chase Claypool than I have seen actual practice highlights, so you can tell where their priorities are, just saying. But I was kind of upset when Najee Harris went to the Steelers, because I really, really like Najee Harris, but of course he goes to the Steelers, right? But I like the Bills. I like everything about their team. I think they have a really underrated wide receiver / tight end, Gabe Davis. He was really underrated last year. Made some great plays. Came from UCF. That's why I had to shout him out. But I really like the Bills. Like you mentioned, running back's good. Josh Allen. I could see him winning the MVP this year. I think they're going to be a really good team. Steelers, not so much. I still think they're quite overrated.
Yeah. And we didn't even get to Dawson Knox yet. So that's another reason why the Bills will win this game.
Yeah.
And then the Steelers, look, last year their offense was so predictable. Their offense was so predictable. I remember in this very same matchup on Sunday Night Football, the Bills got a pick six like right before halftime because of one of those the Steelers tried to throw one of those cheesy sideline out routes, and dude jumped it and took it to the house. I'm like, that's textbook. That's exactly why the Steelers are not going to make a postseason run this year. Like stuff like that.
They did the same thing in the playoffs. They did the same thing in the playoffs. That's why the Browns jumped all over them, and I missed that game. I wish I could watch it for the first time over and over again. That was the greatest game I've seen in such a long time. But nonetheless, I don't think the Steelers are good. I hope they're not good.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. They're definitely not going to win the division. They're not winning the division, bro. They're not. Yeah. They're just not. So, yeah, circle the wagons, whatever you want to say to indicate the Bills will win. All right, let's get on to I don't know what to say about this either. There's a lot. There's another one of those ill games. The Vikings and the Bengals.
Two former wide receivers from LSU battling it out. One can actually catch the ball. Sorry. I had to. The Bengals decided to take a wide receiver over Penei Sewell. They did. Yeah. They did. They decided to take Jamar Chase over a lineman, and we saw what happened to Joe Burrow last year, right?
That's why he got hurt. That's why he was out for the rest of the season.
And instead they decided, I mean, I get it because they played together at LSU. They won the national championship together. But in the preseason, he only had one catch. He had like 5 drops. And all of those drops were right in his hands. And I saw an interview in which he said that the size of the NFL ball is a lot bigger than the college. If you were out for an entire year, why wouldn't you be training with NFL footballs? It makes no sense, but I do like the Bengals. Personally, I like them better than the Vikings. I don't know. I really don't. The Bengals did lose a few pieces, Bernard and a few players on their defense, but I don't know. AJ Green. Yeah, AJ Green, of course. But the Vikings, I don't. Other than Justin Jefferson, I don't. And I guess Adam Thielen, but they're just to me. I mean, I think they're good. I think they're mediocre. I don't think they're great at all. I don't think they're terrible. But the Bengals. They were in some games last year, games that they really shouldn't have been in. And I'm gonna go. Yeah, they beat the Steelers. I remember that. That was exciting, but. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna say the Bengals. I've already picked the Jets and the Lions today. Why not add on to that list of wild picks and go with the Bengals?
I don't blame you, man. I mean, there's a lot of optimism in Cincinnati. A lot because of Joe Burrow, of course. Because when he was healthy, he was giving that city some hope. And I would love Joe Burrow to step it up. And, him and Baker Mayfield to have a little indirect rivalry, Bengals versus Browns. Oh, my gosh. And obviously, they had a really good game last year, the Bengals and the Browns did. So hopefully that Battle of Ohio can develop into a bigger rivalry, in the next few years. Hopefully that Penei Sewell pass will not destroy Joe Burrow again. But
I hope not.
Yeah, I would really hope not, because that sucks. But, hey. I guess I'm going to pick the Vikings because I think the power of Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson will give Kirk Cousins enough mediocrity to beat below mediocrity.
Fair enough. I think the Vikings is definitely the safer pick, smarter pick. So I'm not mad at it.
Yeah, I don't know what to expect, but. Now let's get into another juicy matchup. This is probably the game of the week for me. The Browns and the Chiefs.
I don't know. I feel really bad for the Browns because they haven't won an opening day game since 2004. It's been almost 18 years, 17 years since they last won week 1, and this week is not going to come easy. It's not this could easily keep the streak going of losses on week 1. I hope not. I mean, I like both teams. I like the Chiefs a lot. I like the Browns a lot. I really like the Browns offense. I like their defense as well. They were so good last year. They were so entertaining, and so were the Chiefs. And the Chiefs, they really didn't lose too many players. They didn't. They're the same team. They really are. And it's crazy to think that it almost feels like Patrick Mahomes is underrated. No one talked about him this offseason. No one did. And coming into Week 1, it's going to be a shootout. I love this game. As much as it hurts me to say, I think I got to pick the Chiefs. I would love to see the Browns end the streak, though. So this is a win-win. If the Chiefs win, that's cool. If the Browns win, even better. Win-win for me.
Yeah, I agree. And, this year I don't mind the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl because, last year I was really fond of the back-to-back rule.
Okay.
Obviously, the Bucs squandered that. So I don't mind, because I like to see people, stiff arm the crap out of adversity and all the trash talking about you're not this good, like Tom Brady was the one getting doubted all year last year solely because of Patrick Mahomes and how great he is. Now I think it's Mahomes' turn to go and now he's got something to prove. This is like the first year that people are really like, okay, Mahomes, no passes, you're nobody's giving you a pass. I mean, Andrew, if you're looking at it realistically, Tom Brady is the only reason Patrick Mahomes doesn't have 3 rings right now, because he beat him in the AFC Championship and the Super Bowl.
And he really should. Patrick Mahomes should have had that AFC Championship too. I was in so much pain watching that. It was tough, but you're right. Patrick Mahomes still great. The Browns still great, but I would love to see the Browns win. I really would. Like I said. Win-win for me, but I just think the Chiefs are a little bit above them. The Browns are really good, but the Chiefs, I think, a little bit better.
I don't blame you, but the streak will end. I'm picking it. The streak will end.
I like
the
it.
Cleveland Browns will beat the Kansas City Chiefs, and it probably won't be that much of a shootout. It'll be a 20 score. I think this will be a 20 score. I know it sounds crazy.
Whoa.
I'm getting bold today. I think this will be a 20 score. I think that Browns defense, I mean, look, they hung with them in the playoffs.
They did.
And the Browns weren't even fully healthy. They didn't have Odell. They didn't have Jadeveon Clowney on the roster. But, I mean, their roster just looks so much better. And I think they're going to surprise a lot of people. They're going to win the division this year, I think.
I like it. I hope that happens. And I'm just saying, in that playoff game, helmet-to-helmet hit. Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Bro, the Chiefs got so lucky in a lot of their games last year. Whether it was the Saints not recovering that fumble in the end zone, they ended up losing by 3. They escaped Miami. They escaped Tampa Bay. They escaped the Raiders. They escaped a whole lot of teams. They escaped the Falcons. They escaped the Chargers. They had so many close games last year, and it was like nobody could stop them in the clutch. And when you see somebody for so long, you eventually build a game plan for them, and you eventually know how to do it. And I think the Buccaneers sent a blueprint, and the Browns are going to execute that.
I like that. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Now we go to a game that was supposed to be interesting, but I don't know. It kind of dimmed down a little bit for various reasons, but it still can be an interesting game. This Packers-Saints game.
That's interesting. It really is. I like Jameis Winston. I always have liked Jameis Winston, Florida State. People like to clown him for all of his interceptions in Tampa Bay, but he also broke touchdown records. This dude is a really good quarterback. Sure, he may throw quite a bit of interceptions, but that's all right. He beat out Taysom Hill for that starter spot, so he must still look pretty good. He's the first quarterback we've seen start at the helm since Drew Brees has retired, which is crazy to think about. So he must be pretty good. The Saints trust him enough to be that next quarterback for the future. So this one is interesting. Green Bay, still a little bit of tension in their locker room, in their front office. They did get some weapons. I mean, Randall Cobb, former Green Bay player. I mean, I guess that's a weapon, but they still have some targets for Aaron Rodgers. I don't like Green Bay at all. I really don't like the Saints either, but I'm gonna have to go with the Saints. I don't care. I'm not picking Green Bay. I want the Saints to somehow go crazy. They did lose their running back, which is huge. One of their running backs, obviously, Alvin Kamara, is still in there, but their backup running back, Latavius Murray. So I'm hoping Taysom Hill can run some crazy wildcat packages somehow, maybe line up in the tight end slot for Jameis Winston. So they got to do something today, because I just hope somehow they can get through that Green Bay defense, which I thought was a little bit overrated last year. They played well. They have some great players, but we saw how that went in the playoffs. So the Saints, they're going to do it some way, somehow. They're going to somehow defeat Green Bay, hopefully.
I'm gonna disagree and hope that I'm wrong, simply because the Packers just love to cheese with the deep bombs and the play actions and the the cadences to draw people off sides. Aaron Rodgers does that so well, and it's just like, the Packers give you that like annoying vibe. It's like,
of course,
when they do what they do, it's like when they do what they do, it's like, oh my gosh, they do the same thing over and over again. It's like play action bootleg. Aaron Rodgers has all the time in the world, finds somebody open, and they're just moving down the field. It's like impossible to stop them on third down almost.
And it's the worst thing when a team gets up on them early, because it's like Ohio State for most time. Of the time, it's like you get up on them very early. You look like the better team in the first half, then the second half hits and it's game over. They blow you out by like 50 every time. It's so annoying. And you're right. I mean, I hope it doesn't happen. I wouldn't be surprised if the Packers won this game, but I'm really pulling for the Saints to do something good today.
Yeah, I really am too. Even though I'm picking the Packers, I really do hope the Saints prove me wrong, because, well, we don't like the Packers. Simple as that, right?
Yeah.
But that game, I guess another reason I'm picking the Packers is because the game's in Jacksonville. This is basically a neutral site game.
It is.
And no Michael Thomas either. So.
Yeah.
Now we shift our attention to this suddenly interesting game, this interesting rivalry that's kind of been under the radar. Yes, it's a rivalry, I think. The Dolphins and the Patriots.
I do like this one, because the battle of the Alabama quarterbacks.
Who's more overrated, right?
I don't know why people hate on Tua, though. I don't know what he's done wrong. I felt like he's played pretty well given his circumstances. I mean, recovering from that terrible injury and playing well last year. It was kind of weird when they did bench Fitzmagic, who was playing out of his mind for Tua last year, but either way, Tua, he kept that game against the Chiefs pretty close. He played a pretty good season. Mac Jones, sure, he beat out Cam Newton, but I don't know. I don't know if we haven't seen him really play against first stringers. I will say, I didn't really think he was that good in college. I mean, sure, he had a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns, but look who was around him. I mean, we've almost named every single player who was around him, just predicting some of these games. So if anything should tell you how many weapons was around him, that should. So I think the Dolphins are on the rise. I really like their coaching staff. I think Tua's better than people think. I don't think he's overrated. The Patriots, I don't know. I don't think they're as good as some people may think. I mean, last year they were dreadful to watch. They were dreadful. It was ugly, and that's why I'm gonna pick the Dolphins. I've already picked Jacksonville. I picked the Dolphins. Got to continue that Florida movement.
Yeah, I agree. And the Dolphins, they will win this game because of their defense, their improved defense. And I mean, yeah, I agree with you. I don't see why Tua gets so much hate. I mean, like you said, the decision to go to Fitzmagic, to go back, bench Fitzmagic for Tua the way they did was very questionable. But Tua comes out and beats the Rams, and he beats the Cardinals, and then he nearly, puts them in a wild card spot. They were in a wild card race. We didn't expect that from the Dolphins of all teams last year. They smoked the 49ers, and they really did a whole lot of good stuff. And I expect, some improvement in year two, especially with Xavier Howard,
Mm,
on the corners. I mean, he's been a very, very slept on cornerback. He
100%.
led the league in interceptions one year or something like that. He's an interception magnet, my
Yeah,
man.
yeah. Like you said, their defense really good. I don't think their offense is that bad either. Very underrated. They're an underrated team in my opinion overall.
Yeah, so I got the Dolphins. The Patriots, we may not know what to expect from them, in terms of how they'll look, but it doesn't look very good. I mean, Mac Jones is going to go from a loaded team to a team that needs to get loaded. You know what I
Yep,
mean?
yep, exactly.
So, yeah. This is our last ill game of the week. The Broncos and the Giants. Now, oh my goodness. Drew Lock is not the starting quarterback anymore.
Nope. Teddy B.
Wow.
Teddy Bridgewater. Moving from team to team on a yearly basis.
And
Uh,
still becoming the starter.
yeah, it's quite crazy. And we saw him with the Saints a few years ago. He looked really good last year with Carolina. I don't think I watched one game. I didn't care to watch, and I don't think they played that well either. But it's interesting. It really is. The Broncos team. Oh, their defense insane. I think
Yes.
their defense could. I'm gonna say I think it might be top. I was gonna say top 10. I might have to say top 12, but definitely in that area. I think th- a lot of people were questioning their draft pick this year, trading it obviously, and then going with a corner. But bro, their corners the best in the league. I gotta say, I don't think any team can top the Broncos corners. Their defense is really really good. Offense, on the other hand, I don't. I mean, their wide receiver room is stacked, and the only reason I know that is because the Lions got a rookie receiver, a receiver that they drafted. The Lions were able to pick him up because he wouldn't have gotten any playing time with the Broncos due to how stacked their wide receivers are. But they're very under the radar. I don't know if they're good. I don't think they're terrible. They might be, but I just think they're in that area floating around good and bad. I mean, in the middle. But the Giants, they're interesting. They're interesting.
Stay the same, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you can stay the same.
I do
'Cause
think that the Giants though have a higher ceiling. I do. I think they have a higher ceiling than the Broncos based on their offensive weapons. I do think they have a lot more explosive and better offensive weapons. The Giants do. Obviously, got Kenny Galladay. Your boy's back today. Your boy is back today, Saquon. And I don't know about the rest of their team though. It's interesting. They have some good offensive weapons. Defense, I guess, not horrible, not great though. But I'm gonna say the Broncos are going to win this one.
this is a tough one because you're just looking at the rosters and you look at them stacked against each other and you're like, okay, both teams are in a position where they're in the year where it's like, okay, we don't have that many seasons left to waste now. We got to do something now. You got quarterbacks that are like, okay, you know, we've seen this long enough. You know, we're trying to win games with you. Daniel Jones, especially. Like
Yeah,
me personally, I have not had faith in Daniel Jones. I personally have not faith. I definitely have more faith in him now than I do have in Dwayne Haskins. So good for the Giants back then, but um, right now, Daniel Jones, pressure's on him now. He's got to win. The Giants have to win right now. And
yeah. Or the entire city of New York will riot because we know how passionate they are about that Daniel Jones pick a few years ago. So
yeah, so passionate.
you're right. You're right. But I got to go with the Broncos. I have to.
I'm going with Denver too. I just think if both defenses are good. I mean, people were talking about the Giants being a little bit underrated on defense last year, but I think that's because their offense was not that good and the defense just had more time on the field and this and that.
Sure.
The
Yeah.
Broncos, however, their weapons, look, Noah Fant, Jerry Jeudy, and their running back room can be decent. Philip Lindsay, I hope he has, one of those healthy years because when he was healthy and he went to the Pro Bowl, that was like, whoa, where did he come from?
Yeah.
And obviously the Broncos, they can be there if they can stay healthy. They just need to stay healthy. They just get derailed by injuries. Von Miller and Bradley Chubb, like that's a nasty linebacker duo. So
And some of
I'm
my
gonna pick that.
go on.
No, I was done. I said I was gonna pick Denver.
Okay, yeah. And some of my favorite games of the year are that Broncos Raiders night game in Denver. Those are always so chaotic. It always comes down to a last second extra point, 2-point conversion, field goal every single year. It's always crazy. And the Broncos, they're a chaotic team. They can either win crazily or lose crazily. It's always up in the air with them.
Gotta love it, and especially in a division where, look, AFC West is stacked. Look, people might look at the NFC West and say that's the best division in football, but don't sleep on the AFC West because the AFC West is stacked. Obviously, you got the Chiefs. The Chargers could do something. You know what I'm saying? The Raiders, if they can step their defense up, they could be something. And then, of course, you look at the Broncos and you're like, you know what? They could be they're slept on, especially now that they have a new quarterback at helm. It's like, this could be a very interesting division. I still think the Chiefs are going to come out on top of the division, of course, but we'll see who gives them a run for their money.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, let's get to this game that I don't know why they put on Sunday Night Football, but they did anyways. They found a way to put the Chicago Bears on Sunday Night Football in Week 1 against the Los Angeles Rams. Do you know what happened last time the Chicago Bears played the Los Angeles Rams in prime time?
I remember quite well. It was kind of embarrassing. A lot of interceptions, I remember. But it's funny. Matthew Stafford goes to a different team and is immediately on Sunday Night Football. It's kind of painful, but a lot of people think that the Rams are true Super Bowl contenders. I mean, I can see why they did get an upgrade in quarterback, but I still don't think their offensive weapons are that great. I mean, I don't think any of their wide receivers are top of the line. I mean, Cooper Kupp is good, but he gets injured a lot. When he's healthy, very, very good. They lost their running back. Sure, they got Sonny Michel from the Patriots, but I don't know. I don't think their offensive weapons are that great. Their receivers, they're decent. Don't get me wrong. They're decent, but they're not anything great. I said this the other day. I personally think that Matthew Stafford had some better receivers in Detroit. I think Marvin Jones, Kenny Golladay, maybe even Danny Amendola, T.J. Hawkinson, obviously Calvin Johnson over the years, but I don't know. Their defense, don't get me wrong, the Rams' defense is insane. The Rams' defense is the best, if top 5 in the league. But the Bears, Andy Dalton.
Yeah, this is going to be fun to see. This is basically how long is Andy Dalton going to be under center game.
And it's gonna be funny because I guarantee every single Bears fan for the most part is gonna be so bored watching this game because they don't care anything for Andy Dalton. They just want to see Justin Fields play, and that's funny because they're gonna have to watch this entire game with Andy Dalton playing. You would think. Yes. You would think.
Unless he gets injured, but some people, bro. I think Mike Greenberg said this on Get Up. He said if Andy Dalton were to get injured in this game against the Rams, then the quarterback that the Bears should go to would be Nick Foles over Justin Fields. Andrew, can you imagine if Andy Dalton can't play and they go to Nick Foles over they make Justin Fields the third stringer?
Knowing the Bears, I could see it. I could see it happening. They just love their random quarterbacks instead of their rookie quarterbacks. Hey, I don't know. I just think it's funny they put Andy Dalton on Sunday Night Football Week 1 against Matthew Stafford. Who would have thought? Matthew Stafford Sunday Night Football Week 1 against Andy Dalton?
That is so ugly. Like, bro, that's such an ugly matchup, bro. I mean, more so on Andy Dalton's behalf.
What is this? 2014? 2016?
The Bengals and the Lions in different animal skins.
Yeah, both in the playoffs. It's crazy. I don't know. I'm gonna pick the Rams because I mean watching the Bears and the preseason, not great at all.
There's no way the Bears are winning this game, dude. Not against that Rams defense. Just just no. Unless David Montgomery rushes for like 200 yards and 4 touchdowns, the Bears are not winning this game, dude. Not with that offensive line. We gotta see if that boy Tevin Jenkins can get healthy. Then we gotta see what Andy Dalton looks like in his post Cowboys stint, his post Bengals prime years. Then we gotta see if this defense is still intact, and then we gotta see if the kicking situation can hold up.
I'm sorry, I've seen this all year in the preseason. Everyone's like, "Oh, we got Desmond Trufant. We got Desmond Trufant." I'm sorry. Awful with the Lions last year. I thought he was going to be good too, and my hopes were slowly shut down. I mean, he was great with the Falcons. Over the years, he was one of their best corners, but a lot of Bears fans are like, Desmond Trufant's going to be really good for the Bears. I'm just saying, do not get your hopes up.
No. Like, bro, just no. He's going to be another Buster Screen for us. Like come on, man. Yeah, I mean, get out of there. There's no way the Bears are winning this game. Not with first of all, the Rams are on a mission. They're not gonna get derailed by the Chicago Bears of all teams. If they lose the Chicago Bears, it's time to hit the panic button on the Los Angeles Rams. You know, putting all the chips on the table for Matthew Stafford, because that's not going to be a good sign. That's not going to be a good sign if you lose to Chicago Bears in your own crib in prime time with this situation. Just no.
Yeah, you're 100% right.
And now we have the Monday Night Football game that just now became much more evenly matched because the Ravens' running back room cannot stay healthy. Oh, my gosh, what happened to the Baltimore Ravens?
It's like the last year's 49ers all over again. Every single star player, except probably Lamar Jackson and a few others, has gone down with an ACL, Achilles injury. Marcus Peters tore his ACL along with Gus Edwards and obviously J.K. Dobbins and
Justice Hill. Yes, 3 running backs.
Essentially all of their running backs and a few corners and a wide receiver and whatever. They need to check the practice field. What's going on? Is there? I've never seen it before. I've never seen it before, and it's funny. Have you seen their practice squad? Who they signed? The Ravens in their practice squad. Imagine if this was like 2016. Le'Veon Bell and Devontae Freeman, 2 players who were really good a couple of years ago, and now they have Latavius Murray as I'm guessing their starter, which is kind of odd. But their running back room, I mean, it's not an upgrade, but imagine if this was like 3 years ago. Insane.
Yes, bro. I would be dying to see a Ravens-Steelers game and Le'Veon Bell is donning the purple and black. That is going to be funny.
And it's crazy that he wasn't signed. I mean, sure, I think we saw him one play in their run last year for the Chiefs. Obviously, not great with the Jets at all, so he hasn't done too much since the Steelers. But it's funny to think that he was unsigned and now is on the practice squad. Probably will be on the main roster as we speak. But it's interesting. I'm. This is a tough one. It really is. It is. I'm gonna say Ravens. I'm just gonna somehow Lamar is gonna put the team on his back and he's gonna ball out.
I'm gonna say the Raiders. Why? Because I remember the Saints Raiders Monday Night Football game from last year. The Raiders came out and they were shocking people early on. They were actually in the AFC West race until they just. I mean, they fell flat on their faces, almost lost to the Jets, got blasted by the Falcons. I mean, blasted by the Falcons. Embarrassing loss to the Dolphins. There's just a lot of things that just it was an avalanche for the Raiders last year because of their defense.
And the Raiders, I agree. I thought they were a lot better than most people thought, but I think they're going to be good this year. It's funny because their tight end came out of absolute nowhere. All of a sudden, he's one of the best in the league. It's crazy to think. But I do think that the Raiders are going to be good this year, but this is just a tough game one. And the past 3 years, we know how crazy the Ravens can be on week one. Like, it seems like every single week one, they're blowing out their opponent by like 50.
Yeah, I agree, man. But I don't know. Their offensive line, they traded Ronnie Stanley to the Chiefs, I believe, and then obviously their running back room. Look, Lamar, it's so unfortunate for the Ravens because they finally addressed that wide receiver issue that they've been having the entire time Lamar Jackson was in Baltimore. Is in Baltimore. They drafted Rashad Bateman and they signed Sammy Watkins. That's not bad to go along with your tight end Mark Andrews. That's not bad. And then all these injuries happen with the running backs, and it's like Lamar Jackson. You look at the roster. It's like Lamar Jackson's the only threat to run the football. They're not going to respect these practice squad running backs, so they're going to keep their eyes on Lamar, and that's going to make things harder for Lamar. And that's why I think the Raiders are going to exploit that and win this game, even with their defense last year that was so atrocious. I think the Raiders will somehow find a way to pull this one out.
Yeah, I could easily see it. I think that the Raiders do have a better chance at winning this game, believe it or not. But I don't know. The Ravens, Lamar, out of nowhere. I thought they were about to lose to the Browns last year. Then all of a sudden, he comes out of the locker room and puts them on his back and carries them. So I think anything can happen in this game. I wouldn't be mad if the Raiders won. I like the Raiders, but I don't know. I just could see the Ravens overcoming adversity and pulling this one off.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either. I mean, Lamar Jackson's Lamar Jackson, special talent. But all I'm saying is Baltimore cannot waste any more time with this man's talent. They got to get healthy and they got to put the right pieces around him. And we don't know, their defense now. It's like, are they going to be as good as they were? Because in the past they were elite. But now they've downgraded to just solid.
Yeah, exactly.
Just solid. They've lost a lot of key players, so that's going to factor into. So we'll see. It is Monday Night Football, and I love that this game is on Monday Night Football. We get to finally see fans in Vegas. Oh my gosh, that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I was watching a soccer game there a few weeks ago. Bro, that place gets packed.
Oh my gosh, beautiful, beautiful. I can't wait to see it for football. NFL did a good move by putting SoFi Stadium and Allegiant Stadium in prime time in week 1. They did a good job doing that.
Oh, 100%.
Great job doing that.
Yeah.
All right. Final game that we're going to call. It's the Thursday night game for next week, Giants-Washington. Here we go with the early season Thursday night stinkers. Well, I won't say stinkers, but it's definitely not that interesting of a game. It's Giants versus Washington.
I'm going to say Washington. Yeah, let's both go with Washington.
Yeah, Washington. That's going to be our fastest pick ever.
I just think it's going to happen. Washington. They're going to be decent this year. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, do it. All right, really quickly, I'm going to touch on this MLB playoff race really quickly. Oh my gosh, that AL wild card race is insane. That is insane. That's insane.
All I'm saying is that, hey, your team, they're only like two. They're only like 2 out, man. Can Seattle do it?
So you're saying there's a chance?
There's a great chance. I mean,
yeah.
The wild card fluctuates every single day. One day Boston could be number 1. Next day they could be number 3.
I was so pissed off, bro. I was so pissed because the Red Sox came back against the White Sox. The Mets choked against the Yankees, and then the Diamondbacks beat the Mariners. We could have jumped even further. We were in such good position to jump even further up, but now we're sitting 2 back. It's only 2 back, and we're tied with the A's. So I guess we're all good. I mean, this is a good spot. The Blue Jays are smoking high. I don't think anybody's gonna stop the Blue Jays now, but
yeah, Robbie Ray, insane. That he has like 15 strikeouts in like a few weeks ago, which is insane. But yeah, I honestly, any team besides the Red Sox and the Yankees, I'll take them in the wild card. I really would, because the A's. I don't really like the A's, but if they were in the wild card, sure, I don't really care. The Toronto, if they were in the wild card, 100% fine with that. And obviously Seattle, if they somehow manage to get there, completely fine.
I would love. Best case scenario for me is a Mariners Jays wild card game in Toronto.
Ooh, Oh, every home run you hear that horn, nothing better in playoff baseball.
That gives me chills every time, man. Like, I mean, the Blue Jays, I mean, especially with the series against the A's, they hit walk-offs and all this stuff. Oh my gosh, that horn gave me chills. They had that crazy comeback and stuff. It's insane. I mean, every team this is such a great year of baseball, and I can't wait. I cannot wait for the postseason. It's only 3 weeks left, man.
Hey, it's getting exciting.
Really quick, I'm going to transition to college football because this is giving me 2007 vibes with all this insanity, all these upsets, all of this, all these crazy playoff implications, and Ohio State losing at home. That's foreign to me.
You'd love to see it. And I'm just saying, when was the last time you saw a team on back-to-back weeks have a first play 75-yard touchdown? Michigan State did it. Michigan State did it. Back-to-back weeks, a first play from scrimmage, 75-yard touchdown.
The commentator has such a voice crack. It was like her voice was raising, like as the play was developing. I was like, oh my goodness, she is hype.
And the ball is free, picked up by Jalen Washington. He scores. I
can't wait. I can't wait for Paul Bunyan.
Hey, I'm excited to see Michigan State go up against some real talent. Come on, we already destroyed Youngstown State. We beat Northwestern. We kicked them out of their own stadium. Come on, give us Ohio State. We're ready for Alabama. No, I'm kidding. These are all jokes. I'm excited to see Michigan State play Miami next week, though.
Oh yeah, that's going to be a good game. And that's going to be very interesting.
Miami, they haven't looked good at all.
No, smoked by Alabama. Nothing new. But Appalachia State almost did it to another FBS team. I mean, not another FBS team, another Power 5 team. We'll say that. They almost did it. I don't know why Appalachia State always does this to people, man.
They're good. I think they always have a good football program. I mean, it seems like every single year they're in a bowl game.
And they do challenge these teams to, they give them a run for their money all the time. Now, I just want to see them play Michigan again sometime in the near future. That would be amazing. But, yeah, dude, I'm excited. Conference races are going to be insane because now Clemson and Ohio State and, they're not exactly shoo-ins now. You got Iowa in the mix. I don't know. A&M is like, after what I saw in Colorado,
10-7. 10-7. When was the last time you saw a top 5 team only score 10 points and win by 3?
That's disgusting, dude. But that was that. Colorado probably should have won that game, but it is what it is. Oh my God, bro. Dude, Texas is done. Their season's over, dude. Texas is done. After that game, bro, that's embarrassing. They are an embarrassment to the capital of Texas, bro. That was so
I'm just saying
bad.
they want to play Alabama and Georgia and Florida on a season basis, and they can't even get past Arkansas. That's so funny.
Arkansas wasn't even that good for the past few years, bro. And they come out and just Arkansas caught a body. They caught a body.
They didn't.
As simple as that, Andrew. They caught a body.
They did.
They caught a body. Rest in peace to Texas this year, man. Because I mean, I thought they were gonna. I'm not saying I thought they were gonna be college football playoff contenders. Obviously, that's never the case. I'm not saying they were even gonna win the Big 12. But dude, I'm looking at this and I'm like, they were ranked this high just to get spanked by Arkansas like this? Really?
Yeah, and real quick, I can't even think of a time where you mentioned Iowa, but Iowa State and Iowa both in the top 10 at the same time. That's so funny. Not anymore, but
yeah,
funny.
Iowa State just can't find a way to beat Iowa. It's like, I mean, even when all the cards are stacked against Iowa State always finds a way to hand them a game. Whether it's muffing a punt or losing in overtime, this time they just didn't show up. They really just didn't show up.
Yeah.
It's sad to see because I really want Iowa State to get over that hump.
Me too.
Very much like BYU got over their Utah hump yesterday. That was insane. I've never seen a team rush the field after beating a 21st ranked opponent. But I mean, considering the stakes that were behind that game and that rivalry, I'm all for it.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, dude, college football definitely in full swing. I don't know why they thought that Washington, Michigan was a good game to put on prime time, but whatever. There's going to be some big games this week. Alabama and Florida, Auburn and Penn State. Oh my gosh, those are going to be some. There's going to be some good games down the line, man.
Yeah, I know you're looking forward to that one. I am too, a little bit.
Ooh, dude, if Auburn were to come in on a whiteout and beat Penn State.
Yikes.
Ooh, baby. The SEC, I don't know. SEC is loaded. SEC is loaded. That's all I can say. I wish Toledo would have hung on.
Oh, me too.
Notre Dame.
Me too.
Oh, my gosh.
So close.
That would have made Joe Sullivan's day so much better if Toledo would have won. Notre Dame, this is why we can't take them serious. They cannot beat who they are supposed to beat soundly. Like, they almost got beat by Toledo. What happens when Cincinnati comes into town, man?
Oh, that's going to be a good one. That's going to be a good one.
Oh, it's not. Cincinnati finna clap them cheeks. They finna strike that pot of gold on the Irish, dude.
I hope so.
Yeah, but college football, everything we wanted that from pre-pandemic, everything is back. I mean, college game day is back. Everything feels like it's normal. You know what I mean? You got to love it, man.
I love it.
All right, dude. Let's get to our MVPs and LVPs. Who's your MVP?
I'm going to make this quick. We haven't recorded in about a month, and in that time span, the Yankees, they managed to go on a 13-game win streak, which is absolutely insane. Anytime you see a team go on an 8-game win streak, a 10-game win streak, that's pretty insane. And to make it even crazier, that is the longest streak since the 27 Cleveland Indians, who won 22. So to put that in perspective, 22 straight wins and 13 straight wins, that's insane. So the Yankees finally starting to get it going, unfortunately, but it's about time.
Yeah, I know they lost. They've lost 11 of their last 14, but they're still in the thick of the wild card race because of that winning streak. So, I mean, they're hanging on by a thread, but there's no excuse for them not to make the playoffs at this point, because we were clowning them early on in the season. They were looking bad until the All-Star break. Then they started getting hot. Now there shouldn't be any looking back. You jump the Red Sox at some point, who we thought were going to be surefire AL East winners. There shouldn't be any turning back for the Yankees. But yeah, I see why you put them as your MVP. My MVP has to go to BYU. Look, they hadn't beaten Utah since 2009, and I'm looking at the fourth quarter. It's 23-7, and then it gets cut to 23-17, and I'm like, no, please don't tell me it's going to happen to them again. And then, BYU, their defense clutched up, and dude, as soon as they turned the ball over on downs, I was like, oh no, here come the students. I can already see the wave moving, inching closer to the goalposts. I'm like, oh no, it's about to get funky in Provo.
Yeah,
it's about to get funky.
BYU, they're always pretty good, but I didn't even realize that they hadn't beaten Utah in quite some time. That's very impressive. BYU, hey, they're going to be the next team to go to the Big 12. So shout out to BYU. They're making big moves lately.
Yeah, they said, Utah, you want to be a Power 5 team? We do too. Let's beat you on our home turf and finally win this game. You know what I'm saying?
Love it.
Yeah, I got to give that MVP to BYU, but we got to transition to LVPs. There are a lot of choices we have for LVPs, but who is your LVP?
We just mentioned them a couple minutes ago. I got to go Notre Dame. I mean, you can't just barely, and I mean barely, beat Florida State and then come home and barely beat Toledo. And Toledo, I mean, they're on a little bit different scale compared to Florida State. So the Florida State win is, I mean, it's more like you'd rather see them barely beat Florida State than barely beat Toledo. Toledo, if they would have lost that game at home to Toledo, now they would have been in for some big problems. Notre Dame doesn't look good at all. And I don't. Did you hear what their coach said after the Florida State win?
Executed.
He said he wants his players executed. Well, that was not great execution on his part. But the Notre Dame, they just don't look good at all. I mean, how is this new? It's not.
No, it's really not new. And regardless of who the quarterback is, it's like you can't take this team seriously because they'll go on the road and that's a great statement road win. That game shouldn't have even gone on the overtime against Florida State. They were up 18 in the fourth quarter. They almost choked it away. They better be glad Mike Norvell called that timeout because they were on their way to losing that game.
Yeah.
But that to turn around, and not only did Notre Dame squeak out a win against Toledo, they barely beat Toledo. But Florida State goes out and loses to Jacksonville State, which makes that win against Florida State a much more iffy. I mean, yeah, that's worse on Florida State because, we thought, okay, Florida State's back. They were competitive against Notre Dame. But this looks bad on both teams because it's like this was an ugly week for both teams, but specifically for Notre Dame. So in the end, man, Notre Dame, this was just not a good week. Not a good week. Yeah, they got the win. Yeah, this and that, but it should not have been that close against Toledo because what happens when Cincinnati comes to town? What happens when they got to go back to Virginia Tech? And Virginia Tech is looking pretty decent so far. They beat North Carolina. So, I don't know about this Notre Dame team. They're not going to the college football playoff again.
Yeah, they're not good.
They're not going back. But my LVP is the entire ACC. Bro, the ACC has been taking straight L's. You hear me, Andrew? Straight L's. The ACC, bro, it started off with Clemson pitching up a stinker against Georgia. Obviously, Florida State, we've already talked about what's happened to them the past 2 weeks. And then Northern Illinois comes and beats Georgia Tech. Louisville gets spanked by Ole Miss. NC State gets, beaten by Mississippi State. It's like, and then Duke loses to Charlotte. And it's like the ACC is so weak. They are so weak now. And it's just like, when
was the last time we saw that?
It's not a good year for the conference, man.
When was the last time we saw that? When?
I don't know. I mean, we know the ACC with Clemson's dominance over the past several years. We know that their conference is not, the exact typical example of a competitive conference. But, geez, man, the whole conference is taking straight L's. I mean, kept getting bodied by the SEC like the way they've been getting bodied. Ew.
Not good.
I mean, that's not good. It's just not good for the ACC, man. All right, dude, since we're talking about college football so much, let's get into some trivia. So you had a college trivia question for us last time, didn't you?
Yes, a homecoming. The homecoming games are coming up pretty soon, so I guess it was good timing that I asked this question. I said, what university kind of created the homecoming tradition?
I think I said Oklahoma last time. I have a feeling it's going to be one of those old universities.
You are right about that, and that was not a bad guess because the university that actually created was Missouri. Out of all universities, Missouri was the first to do it in 1911. It's funny because I think it was a former player or something, maybe the athletic director, but he invited all former alumni to come back to the rivalry game against Kansas, and Missouri and Kansas are they're rivals. So they created that in 1911. So you were kind of close, a little bit southern, I guess,
Dang.
but
Wow, I did not know it was that long ago. So I mean, they were in the same conference at one point, so I was somewhat close. Missouri, of course, you know, a lot of people are looking at that college now for journalism purposes. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised that the news broke to me that they were the originators of the homecoming game tradition in college. So yeah, dang, that's a good fun fact. I had no idea. I mean, I figured it would be Mizzou because I mean Mizzou. Sometimes when their sports teams are good, it's like yeah, their fans can get wild.
Yeah, I didn't even realize it, but a couple years ago they were actually competing for the SEC championship. That's insane to me.
Hmm.
That's insane.
Yeah, yeah, they were top 5 consistently, and it was like, huh? So weird.
It's crazy.
But yeah, dude, that was a good trivia question. I got an MLB trivia question for you, and this is one of more of the simpler variety. So when was the last time that there was a new champion of each division in an MLB season? Meaning that there was a new division winner the very next season in all 6 divisions.
I'm going to say it's been a while because if you think about it, the Twins have been on top of the division for quite some time. Not this year. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say 8 years ago.
2013. Interesting. I mean, it obviously has to be one of those like historical like baseball seasons where
wait, scratch that. It's not 2013 because the Tigers went to the World Series in 2012, went back to the playoffs 2013. They were on a big division streak. I'm going to say, I don't know, 2004.
That was a good year of baseball, though. That was a really good year of baseball. I mean, really hope that we can get an ALCS and an NLCS like those two in 2004. You had, obviously, the Red Sox Yankees 0-3 comeback, but then you have the heavily overshadowed Cardinals Astros NLCS, where the Cardinals pulled it out in 7 games. There were 2 walk-offs in Game 5 and Game 6. That's insane. I don't know if we're ever going to see that again. Those championship series paired together, amazing. Now, last year we did have an NLCS Game 7 and an ALCS Game 7. It was almost another 0-3 comeback, and there was actually a 3-1 comeback, unfortunately, by the Dodgers. Freaking Dodgers. But, yeah, dude, great year of baseball. So good guess. We'll find out that answer next week.
Yeah, and this has been a pretty lengthy episode, but that's all right. It's the first week of NFL football in quite some time, so that is completely fine. I'm excited to look forward to all of these games and get to watch them.
Oh, yeah, definitely. NFL season's back in a blink of an eye. I could have sworn I was just sitting on my couch watching a Hall of Fame game like, so this is what football on a Hall of Fame game on Fox looks like. Now we get to see real pads popping on Sundays again. Obviously, we saw the Cowboys and the Bucs. That game was insane. But, yeah, dude, a full Sunday slate. I don't recall the last time that both Fox and CBS had 2 games on both time windows. Like, they got a full schedule. I'm like, oh, wow, this is going to be amazing.
Yeah, football all day. I'm excited. Can't wait to watch. And, hey, same time whenever we record next.
Yeah, dude. I understand, man, because being a senior in high school can be very rigorous, if you ask me. It can be very, very rigorous. So don't worry about it, man. Same time, whenever. You know what I mean? Until then, we got to enjoy our sports. And also until then, for you fans out there, make sure you give us that like, comment, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Give us that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or whatever streaming your device you're using to listen to and tune in to Top of the Standings. Give us the follow on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, the Big 3. This has been episode 40, Andrew, 40 of Top of the Standings. And this has been Andrew Hale and Jotham Israel. We're signing out. Peace. Let's go watch some football.